Hello, everybody. This is Nick Penev, co-founder of Scayul, Extreme Power Brands, and partnership manager with Helltax and 40 other companies in the e-com space. We're here today with our first show, networking on steroids. The reason is to bring people who are super networkers. They do a lot of partnership and they add super value to the community. And before we start, we're gonna mention the sponsor of our podcast series, which is Scale.com. Scale is a SaaS solution which provides, which facilitates warm introductions and referrals between partners on steroids. Our partners have generated millions in new business thanks to our introductions. So we decided to build a tool which can help companies and individuals to grow their network or to get more leads or more sales through proactive introduction. So what we do, we don't wait for the opportunities and the referrals to come. We create them proactively with your partners and the new connections that we meet. But if you would like to sign up, you can see the link my handle, you can do like scale.com. Check it out. And once you sign up, we're gonna take it from there. But we're gonna do some matchmaking. We're gonna make sure that people are gonna connect with you and do some proactive referral swaps. But now I'm gonna introduce you the guest from today's episode. His name is John Stacker. He's a close partner of mine. He's the founder of Vanquish, which is a unique company which provides market entry to Europe and the USA. But of course, I'm gonna let him introduce himself. He's gonna do a presentation for you guys, and you're gonna show you how he can cross the big pond and start making more money on a brand new market. So let me just bring Johnny in, and we can start. Hey,
Hey,
Johnny.
hey
Hey,
Nick,
man.
can you hear me okay? Hear me okay?
Uh, yeah, I hear you. Okay. Sorry, man. I lied. I told you you will be back in 1 minute. It was 2 minutes, but anyways,
Yeah,
you're
no
here,
worries.
so I'm gonna give you the stage. So tell us more about what you do,
Yeah, no,
and
sorry, go
and
on, go on,
introduce
go on.
yourself. Yeah, and of course, tell everybody what is the unique thing that you guys are drinking in Vanquish. Because to be honest, I have like over 1,000 partners. John is the only one who is doing what he's doing, and he's doing that because it's hard, not because it's easy. So I'm
Yeah,
gonna let him introduce himself, and he's gonna do like a short presentation about you guys, and then we can have like a casual chat after that.
yeah, I mean, just an overview. Thanks, Nick, for having me on again. Obviously, I must be the guinea pig for Nick's new software here, just so when anything goes wrong, he can have. Then I think that's right, is it, Nick?
Yeah.
So, so yeah, so a little tiny introduction. We're not here to sell anything. We're here to kind of put some solid information out there. But yeah, Vanquish helps e-commerce brands enter new international markets. So primary markets for us are Europe and the USA, and we do that as an end-to-end solution. We cover everything from tax and regulatory right through to branding, brand positioning, fulfillment, everything you need to establish and get going in a new market. We do that. So I think today, Nick asked me to talk a little bit about why global expansion is more important now than ever. And so I'm going to do that. If I can share my screen, I've got some slides just to make it a little bit clearer on there. We'll just test that, see if we can do that. Can you see that okay, Nick?
Just give me a second. Yeah, see, this is the thing. I need to add the presentation on stage, so I guess I can see that right now. Okay. Yes, yours right.
You've got it? Have you got it?
Yeah, I got it here.
Okay, good. All right. So, the age of global expansion. So, it seems to be more and more brands are looking for global expansion than ever before. And I think that's because the game has changed. I think we can all see as brand owners and service providers in this industry that things have changed. Gaining and retaining market share is harder than ever. We used to just, set up an e-commerce business, run some ad campaigns, restock it. Amazon was fairly simple back in the day. But now, particularly since COVID, consumer behavior has shifted, sales declining, there's economic uncertainty globally. You know, and without wanting to be the bringer of doom, you know, there's fierce competition, overstocked inventory, crowded markets, reduced margins, higher marketing costs, and supply chain expenses. These are commonalities in all markets wherever you are. And you know, so the game really has changed. So really looking at that, just wait till Nick's sorted this out. Okay, so yeah, so looking at the situation, so as we are now, there's about $6.3 trillion in online sales worldwide, 1.6 trillion in ad spend. There's 10 million Amazon sellers, 3,700 new Amazon sellers per day platform. There's a lot of background noise there, Nick.
Yeah, just give me a second.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear it perfectly. I just need to kick out my younger son from my office now. He's playing some games. Oh, don't worry.
That's okay. All right. So, yeah, so picking up from there. So, basically, that's how competitive the market is. So, nearly 4,000 new sellers coming into the market every day. So, what are the options for growth? Well, you know, we kind of all know what they are. We can do trade shows, which are costly. They tend to target the sort of consumer that's looking for, you know, smaller orders and things now, especially. It's not really where the big retailers hang out anymore. And it's wholesale margins, customer maintenance, high maintenance customers, really, where you need to send reps in and things. So you can look at new SKUs, which is, you know, again, I think most of us know that 1 in 10 new SKU launches fail. And to get them going is a big cost, really ramping that up. New channels is a good idea, but we don't believe in channel exclusivity, which we'll come to later. You can increase marketing, which is costly, risky. There's an increased ACOS in the market generally, so you will encounter that the more you increase your ad spend. And ultimately, you know, you could rely on Amazon as an expansion solution entirely, which we'll touch on later again, but that's fraught with issues. So what's the alternative? Global multi-channel e-commerce. So you know, with the industry generally worldwide facing the harsh conditions that we are, we've got 2 options. The first one is, you know, press forward at home, up that ad spend and look for new SKUs. The second is to look for new geographic locations to a completely new consumer with the same proven SKUs. So if we jump into the size of the opportunity that's out there, you know, I've picked the 3 biggest e-commerce markets, excluding the UK, because that's where I'm zooming in from today. So we've got the US 1.1 trillion, China 1.3 trillion, and the EU 927 billion. So similar market size across the board. So again, focusing in on 2 key areas for us at the moment where we're seeing the most activity, the USA and Europe. So kind of cross-Atlantic. So if you're a US brand considering Europe, you can see that there's 900 billion euros in online sales, 450 million new customers to go at. There's 3 million Amazon sellers, which interestingly is, or crucially, is about 66% less competition than there is in the USA on Amazon. And again, there's 50% more unique visitors a month at 300 million on Amazon EU than the US. And a couple of really crucial figures. Only 2% of US sellers are active in Europe at all. And you can consider the other 98% your competitors. 50% of international sellers see sales exceed 50% of home sales in 12 months. So if you do $1 million in the USA, you could expect to do $500,000 in Europe within your first 12 months, is pretty likely. And those figures come from Amazon. Similarly, the other way around, Europe to USA, 1.1 trillion euros worth of sales. Oh, that could be in dollars actually. Europe to the USA, 1.1 trillion dollars, 268 million new customers to go at. One language, one currency, huge advantage. And again, same figures. 2% of European sellers are active in America. 50% of those that expand see sales exceed 50% in the first 12 months, which, is huge. So, just a note on there that brands like Antler, Vivo, Barefoot, Pure, and Form all recently gone stateside. You may know these, you may not, but just to say that there's a lot of movement in kind of boutique and top level brands, enterprise brands at the moment in international. So I guess looking at those figures, is there room for you? Can you make someone else's problem your solution? And what I mean by that is, if somebody's a US seller and they're seeing this huge competition and they're seeing the fierce market circumstances, can you make Europe your problem and vice versa? Can you make Europe your solution and vice versa? Someone else's, the grass is always greener, as they say. So the same rings true here. So is there room for you? Well, e-commerce is set to grow 56% over the next 10 years. I'm just checking you can still hear me, Nick, because I can't see the screen. So
yeah, I see. Yeah.
Just in case I get right to the end and you say you lost me like at 3 minutes. So
no, man, it all looks good so far. I muted myself because my chair is making exclamation sound. So
yeah, just keep squeaking your chair and I'll know you're still there.
Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah. So yeah, 56% growth across the board online over the next 10 years. That's 3.3 trillion in additional growth revenue forecasted, which again is phenomenal. And globally, despite these conditions, it's accelerating with an 11.1 CAGR, compound annual growth rate. So, very, very healthy generally, if that restores some confidence even in these conditions. So, to us, global e-commerce is not an option anymore. It's the option, really more than ever before. The biggest companies and brands in the world are not just focusing on one channel and one geographical market. And, regardless of size, neither should you. And it's also, in our opinion, a myth that a brand should be channel native. When I hear people say we're Amazon native, I hate that, because it's just a yarn spun by, bedroom sellers or private label sellers, not brands, because a brand is omnipresent. It's not something that just occurs on one channel. That's just business. It's not my opinion. So, again, in my view, international expansion is the most powerful strategy to scale an e-commerce brand at velocity. So just a bit of fun there. There's some guys, none of these guys are selling purely on Amazon in their home markets. These are brands, these guys are going out and selling globally, anywhere they can, any country, any channel, which is what any brand should be, celebrity or not. So a little bit on Amazon, what I call the Amazon paradox. Surprising numbers. There's Amazon only have 250 billion e-commerce market share. And I say only because, out of 6-point-odd trillion, that leaves 5.8 trillion of online sales that Amazon is not responsible for. So when people say there's no point doing anything other than Amazon, those numbers are astounding to me. So to visualize that, I think, is important as part of your strategy. So again, e-commerce is more than Amazon. So Amazon's European share is just under 10%, and the US share just under 40%, which means it's not a monopolist. The majority is off Amazon, not on it. You know, and so whilst it tops the lists in some of the key European countries, in others it doesn't even make the top 5. In France, people like Cdiscount are very close behind with, 4 billion in sales. Have you heard of them? A lot of people probably not. In the US, it's Wayfair, Overstock, now Bed Bath & Beyond, of course. Target and Walmart blazing a trail behind. And we can't forget D2C, where we remove the middleman altogether. So just to throw in the mix that, being channel and geographically agnostic is a key part of any strategy in our economy right now, or otherwise. So, there's a plethora of channels to choose from that suit different categories. And you'll be saying, well, this is great, but you need a war chest of cash to do something like this. It's just for enterprise brands. Well, small brands are naturally more agile and can adapt faster than enterprise. And certainly expanding internationally was once reserved for the huge Procter and Gamble type houses of brands of this world. Though that's certainly changed now. The world's got a lot smaller. When I was 20 years old, I suggested to my father in my family business that we expand globally and we import. And he said, well, how do you just go to China and start buying stuff? And how do you just go overseas and start selling stuff? You can't do that. That was the attitude probably then. It seemed complex. And at 25, I expanded my own company then to America for the first time. And people thought I was crazy, literally crazy. And just said, look, how on earth can you just go and sell in America? I did. I made huge mistakes that literally cost millions. I've done posts about this, and actual millions in mistakes and getting this right. But now there are people that can assist with this, and it can be done affordably and with a much minimized risk over what was available then. Is it hard? Of course it's hard. Anything in business is hard. Anything in e-commerce is hard if it's worth doing, but you didn't get into business for it to be easy. Otherwise, everybody would be doing it. But, it's our opinion that right now it's expand or die. More brands are disappearing than ever before, really, in modern digital times. So we have to keep going forward, or we sit in a corner and cry about it and let things overtake us. So I suppose, things that we see why expansionists fail. So some of the blockers are cultural and consumer behavior differences. Some of the things you can see on there that are fairly obvious: regulatory and compliance issues, and operational challenges, particularly across supply chain, and technology and resources are a huge element. So I'll flip across again, just drilling further down on that. If you want to revisit this later, you can do. Nick may even send something on in a follow-up with this in it, so you can take a detailed look. But again, just a deeper look at why a lot of brands don't make this move. So it's really all about de-risking the opportunity. And the ways that you can do that is by testing small and scaling up. So contrary to belief, you don't have to go into a new market like the US or Europe with £1 million investment and go big. You can test relatively small and scale up from there and build on what works. And we advocate that always. Small being whatever small is for you. You can de-risk by expanding the winning SKUs, so what's working, and we can find out what fits the brand culture and what would work. So we expand and we work on those particularly. You can syndicate your best reviews across most platforms: Amazon, Wayfair, Overstock, Zalando, Cdiscount. You can syndicate. So if you've got 5-star reviews, you're cutting out 95% of that initial launch hard work by syndicating those reviews. So I would advise that. Hedging your bets generally in terms of, making calculated decisions about what's not betting the farm, essentially. So making sure you're entering with something that's not going to kill you if it doesn't work. Variable cost structure is a huge one. So utilizing partners, services, softwares, tech, resources, all of which scale with revenue. I think this is a real big trend right now, and people are realizing that building your own infrastructure to do a lot of the things in e-commerce is dangerous. We saw what happened in COVID, and you're left with a lot of bulk and weight around your neck. So definitely doing that and looking for people who can provide that at a rate where if we grow, the fees grow with it. If they don't, they stay the same. If you shrink, they shrink with it. And it's a model that effectively, can't fail if the products are right. And, finally on that, don't DIY it. You've seen what I mentioned about my experiences, and I see a lot of people try to do this, and it kind of ruins the market forever for them. Use a partner if you can afford to, and it will save you in the long run and give you the best chance of expansion. So who can help with it? You could go to an agency, but generally they don't have the global experience or the in-house capability for international expansion. Some may say that they do, and they may just then try to patch it together using various solutions. We've seen that quite a lot. A traditional accelerator, they will buy your inventory and resell it. The issue being that they extract a lot of the margin, so they need 50 to 60% margin to do that. So you're effectively at wholesale. They control the route to market, and their criteria is so tight that only 0.1% are ever considered. A consultant, again, they will not be able to implement for you, and they tend not to have the commercial experience of actually doing this stuff. You can DIY it, which we've just covered, the risks and the costs associated with that. And if you're really lucky, you could sell to an aggregator and get a full exit, and you're out and you're off to Monaco on your yacht, but only 1% actually ever get qualified really to be acquired or considered to be acquired. Finally, you could use a specialist partner, a niche specialist in international expansion. Your fixed costs up front, you've got your guaranteed outcomes, and you've got a fast track to success. Vanquish is one of those people. Nick may have other suggestions as well. And really, in closing, a few things to keep in mind. Serious growth is being found overseas. There's no doubt about that. If it's done right, it could become your blue ocean. It just does have to be done right across the board. You cannot assume that what works at home will work internationally. There's many nuances, but often the brand story needs to be revisited or rebuilt for the new consumer, along with lots of other things. But it's certainly not just a replication exercise. And finally, digital is definitely the way to go in 2023. It has been for a while, but since COVID, there is a thing among major retailers called clicks to bricks, which is where we have people come to us and say, John, can you help us get a distributor in America, or can you help us get retail stores in Europe? The answer once was yes. It's now no. It's clicks to bricks, which is what the retailers will say: prove yourself on our e-commerce platforms, and we will consider you for purchase orders. They don't want to take risk on inventory any more than you do. So you are pretty much wasting your time if you're going down the distribution route initially. It has to be an e-commerce play. And of course, we're advocates of that anyway, because it's, you can harvest the most margin and own the customer journey. So if you're not expanding, you are contracting. There's no doubt about that. Thank you for your time today on that short presentation. I hope it was short. And just finally, you can catch up with us. We send a newsletter out to 12,500 subs every Friday. You can subscribe to that on the website. We also put lots of content out across all the main platforms. video content, helpful stuff, giveaways that get you started in international expansion. Just Google our name, Vanquish the Expansionist, my name. And finally, Vanquish, as we mentioned at the beginning, if you want some help with this kind of stuff, please don't hesitate to reach out. Well, that's pretty much the end.
Okay, thank you, Johnny. Let's answer the question from one of the attendees. Lee,
Okay.
he's asking, how is this tied to networking? So I'm gonna answer, then you're gonna give your answer. So building what Johnny has Vanquish, you cannot do it without partnerships, because now you need partners to fulfill everything. So, and that's why networking is very important, because nobody is an expert in everything. So if you think that you can do everything, then you're not gonna do anything. So, and of course, I'm gonna let Johnny answer the question: what is networking and how? Are partnerships important for what he's doing, and what he will do without partnerships?
Yeah. I'm going to drop Nick in it and just say no, that it's absolutely useless partners. No, I'm only joking. Right. Yeah, no. Since obviously we're a big advocate of partnerships, and we're a big advocate of Scayul, and I've worked with Nick for a good amount of time now, and yeah, absolutely crucial to us. So finding the right fit. It's not just about finding clients and partners, it's about finding the right ones, and to do that you definitely need the right intro. So having somebody that's got this network that can do that, can bring that process down from a year to weeks if you've got the right service. So yeah, we couldn't advocate that more.
Okay, thank you, John. And we have a few questions from people who cannot attend, and they send them before the event. So let's start with those questions. The first one is from Eva Schmidt. Amazon offers their own solution to expansion. Why can't they just let them handle it all? So that's a question from Eva Schmidt.
Okay. Yeah. So we get asked this question often. Amazon will say, if you're already an Amazon seller, they will say yes. They'll have their Pan EU or their US expansion, and they'll promote you using that. But what I will say is that a lot of brands come to us after having done that, and finding that quite a lot goes wrong in terms of tax service and compliance. Tends to be a bad one. It tends to get very expensive after the initial setup, and of course, when you're expanding somewhere like Europe, the translations that Amazon do through their automated system are embarrassing. It doesn't apply to A+ content. So you can end up with a situation, which we often do, where we've got to undo the work Amazon's done. They're doing it for the right reasons, but it's not their area of specialism, and they're not an end-to-end solution as well. So there's a lot of gaps in that Amazon will not be able to do that a specialist can. I hope that
exactly, and I can confirm that Amazon is offering tax compliance, all kinds of stuff. So ideally, if everything goes well and you never need any assistance, you can use that. But a lot of times you need to communicate with somebody then when the shit hits the fan, because there is nobody who can answer your questions, and that would cost you much more money than you're saving when you go with your solution. So they do it for a good reason, but of course they're paying peanuts to this partner, so they don't provide the same kind of service that they will do to a fully paying customer. So that's why now you need to have a specialized solution. So let's go to the next question from another attendee who cannot join, from Luca Moretti. Which market would you recommend launching in first as a UK brand? So a UK brand would like to launch in Europe. Okay, let me just pause their question so everybody can see that.
Okay. So it was a UK brand, right?
Yeah. Which market would you recommend launching in first as a UK brand? I assume launching to EU, I guess, is the question.
Yeah. So normally we'd go US first, then Europe, then probably China last. As China's always considered the last frontier in e-commerce, but it really does depend. Nick would probably say Europe. I think it depends on the simplicity, the number of SKUs. I think obviously Brexit has posed some difficulties that might suggest, okay, the US might be the first one to do. But it really does depend on your exact situation. We'd have to look at that if you want to reach out to us afterwards.
Exactly. If you look at the language, of course, you should go to the USA. But like Johnny explained earlier, Europe is a big market. People can swim across the channel. Actually, I'm a Bulgarian. Bulgarian holds the record for swimming for the fastest between England and France. So it's very close. But of course, after Brexit is a little further away. But still, you know, I mean, you should look into that as an option. But of course, it depends. You need to do research, and that's what Johnny are doing. They can tell which would be the best market for you because it might be Europe, it might be the USA. So let's go to the next question from Aidan Mitchell. How much does a typical expansion cost? What is the minimum a brand could do this on? I guess what is the minimum you should prepare for such thing? Let me just pose the question.
Again, it's very open-ended because every brand is different. Budgets are different, products are different. But I suppose if you said to me, for example, you had 10 products and you were looking to expand either way, really, from Europe to the US or the US to Europe, I would probably say you should. If we start off with an ad budget, you might say, okay, you want to allow a minimum of 3,000 a month to really get things going. That's on the low side. And then if you look at the ACOS, you might then say that translates probably into, let's say, 21,000 pounds worth of inventory for a few months worth of sales to give that a reasonable shot. And then setup costs to get you there, get you built out and ready to go, legal compliance, everything in place, 10, 15,000 maybe for 10 products. So what's that? I guess all in all, 30,000-ish, 35,000. You might look to invest something like that if you want a proper go at it. Otherwise, it may just be too small to even bother for most people. But I've seen people do it on a lot less. But again, if you want to do it seriously, about there.
Okay, man. So thanks for the answer. We have a few more questions. Let me see the next one from Isabella Mueller. How long would you anticipate it taking, and what revenue could be expected compared to domestic market? I think you answered that, but so I guess they're asking, what growth in sales and revenue you should expect,
Yeah. Okay. So in terms of how long it takes, so we tend to split it into 4 and say first 3 months is, mainly all about setup and build. The 3 months is testing and iterating and building on what works. The next 3 after that, scaling, really pushing harder, building inventory and pushing harder into ad spend and ramping up growth. And by month 12, so the final 3 months, usually is about velocity, finding velocity. So finding that ceiling of sales revenue that we've kind of got a good handle on where we are and what we need to do. So typically, you need to be thinking about a 12-month investment of time to see a good return on an international expansion. That's not necessarily a return of profit. We like to get our brands into profit quickly. But to make it meaningful, and the second part of the question was, I made a little note of it. What revenue could be expected? So across the board, we see, generally speaking, that a lot of brands half of brands make 50% of their home revenue within 12 months. So by that 12-month point, it's more than likely that you will have reached half of your home revenue. If it's kind of US to EU or vice versa, they're similar markets. So ultimately, there's no reason why you won't reach 100%. So you could double your home market. And in some cases, we've seen a lot more than that. So hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I think this answers the question. I think this is the last question because we're trying to keep those short and sweet. We have streamed on YouTube, so we're gonna everybody who could not join live, they're gonna watch the recording. We're gonna include that in our newsletter, which goes out on Sunday to 20,000 e-commerce services service for. So everybody can watch that. And before, of course, we close, we're gonna mention our sponsor, Scayul. I'm not biased at all. It doesn't matter this. I'm part of this company. We love that because we've been doing that for a long time. So I'm gonna mention what we do, and everybody who's like to grow their business or just meet new people, they can use that. So it's Scayul is our sponsor, Scayul.com. I'm gonna choke, man. It's a SaaS tool for warm introductions and referral swap between partners. Now we call it networking on steroids, and that's why we have this title of the show. Our partners have done millions in new business thanks to the introduction swaps in the last few years. But we used to do it manually, so that's why we built a tool to help companies and individuals to grow through networking. And how does it work? Instead of waiting for the referral to come, you share a link, people select who they would like to meet on their end, and vice versa, and they request interaction. So we don't wait for the opportunities and the referrals to come. We create them proactively with our partners and new connections. So thank you everybody for watching our show. We're gonna be sending out the recording to everybody, and sign up for the next event next week. We're gonna do a demo for Scayul only on Wednesday. John is gonna have a biggest webinar with uh, four other speakers. They're gonna talk about global expansion, Mid East. Johnny can tell everybody about that. So, but you're gonna get an email for that. So, global expansion, not only US and Europe, but all the markets that you probably haven't considered yet. So, thank you everybody for watching. Thank you, Johnny, for accepting it to be the speaker. And I'm gonna say everybody have a nice weekend because I only work Monday to Thursday. So, buonasera to everybody, and have a good weekend, guys.
Yeah,
Take
you
care.
too. Thanks so much, Nick, and bye everybody. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.